What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're a tech student, a math student, or just trying to survive the university grind, today's episode is going to hit close to home. Most people look at top tier resumes and think it's just straight, easy line to success. Today's guest has checked almost every single box an elite tech student is supposed to check. He's interned at Amazon, worked at Mercury out in SF, cracked top placements in the Facebook Hacker Club and MIT, and even went through the Y Combinator application gauntlet. Oh, and right now he's currently sitting in the brutal Google team matching Limbo while holding multiple massive offers. But behind the high caliber resume is the real story: navigating life as an international student from India, dealing with the isolation and the toxic competition of the Waterloo sandbox, handling a failed first startup, and trying to maintain a normal social life and dating life in a faculty that doesn't even give you a built-in capstone project to launch your ideas. We are getting completely unfiltered today. Priyanshu, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Prabh. It's quite the introduction that you gave.
All right, so without any further ado, let's get started. Let's start at the beginning. You came all the way from India for computer science. What other universities did you apply to? Did you look heavily at the States or at the ISTs back home? And why did Waterloo ultimately stand out above the rest?
That's an excellent question, Prabh. Um, it's a funny story. Coming to Canada, Waterloo was never like my top choice or my plan.
Oh,
If you told me like even 5 years back that you would end up at University of Waterloo and you would be studying computer science, I wouldn't have believed it. I didn't even know what Waterloo was. I think I just happened to watch this YouTuber. I think his name is Harnoor Singh. One of his videos about Waterloo, and it wasn't something that like stuck a chord in me back then. I was mostly targeting schools in the States, and I heavily applied to all the schools in the States, and I applied to a few schools in the UK. Uh, just as it just so happened that I didn't get in anywhere. I didn't have like very stellar SAT scores. Um, I thought I had a good essay back then, but unfortunately, and I had like good yeah, I had AP credits, but later I figured out that it didn't matter so much in US college admissions, and I didn't get in anywhere in the US. The only school that accepted me was UCSD, and they gave me like an undeclared major. They didn't give me computer science. I'll tell you a fun fact about myself, Prab. Um, Actually, I did manage to get into like good UK schools. A lot of my close friends know this, but not a lot of other people outside my inner circle. But I managed to get into Cambridge for math.
oh,
I got into Imperial. I got into Warwick. I wasn't even planning on majoring in computer science back then. I was very good at math. I used to do a lot of math competitions back in high school, and I thought I'll end up becoming a mathematician. It just so happened that my father insisted that I also apply to some schools in Canada, and Waterloo conducted some math contests that I had heard about when I was a high schooler, Euclid, CSMC, and I'd taken some of those. So I decided, might as well give it a shot, and I applied.
I didn't knew about that. Well, that's good to hear. But I feel like a lot of people in India, because IITs are like the main Ivy Leagues, because the acceptance is just so damn
Right.
like low. Because the whole format is you have to go through the JE mains and JE advanced, which like I think it's mainly like people in millions apply for the mains, and only I think 10K get selected, and those 10K then apply to the advanced, and only like 1K gets selected.
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very intense back home. I think that was one of the reasons I like came to Waterloo, because I like part of me knew that I wasn't well prepared for those examinations, and I had to sacrifice on a lot of other things if I prepared for these examinations. I had seen friends and like children of my family, friends, and relatives prepare for these exams, and it is not a cakewalk, right? Like you have to make a lot of sacrifices, not attend festivals, give up on a lot of other things that you're interested in. 2 3 years or sometimes even more. So I thought it's not a trade-off which I wanted.
And did you get into any other universities in Canada, or was it just like University of Waterloo?
As luck had it, had I gotten into U of T CS, I would have gone there because
Oh,
back then I didn't know that like Waterloo is that great of a school for computer science. I hadn't done my homework. I wanted to go to U of T because it had better international rankings on the QS boards and other boards. And like a few family friends had heard about U of T, and I think overall, if you look internationally, outside of tech circle, U of T holds more prestige than Waterloo. That might not be true in like some niche circles in SF in New York, but at least like back then it used to be true that U of T and UBC were more prestigious. But I didn't manage to get anywhere.
but you got into Waterloo CS, which is also like pretty hard to like crack.
I would say so. I think I had like very good scores for the math competitions that Waterloo conducted. That I think was the main reason that I got in.
So I guess because U of T has like a good ranking, but in terms of co-op, I would say like Waterloo is pretty good because they have managed to like make a network with a bunch of like other companies internationally. So I guess for like study wise and for research, like if you're going for masters, I think UFT is like pretty good in that sense. But still, I think for co-op, Waterloo does a pretty good job if you compare it with like other universities. And the other part is, I think I'm not sure if other universities do the 4 month cycle because I know U of T does like the whole PEY, which is like a professional
Yes, that's
year.
2 years, something
Yeah,
of that sort.
which I think most companies prefer. They want to have like an employee who's like completed his education
Right,
and are just like coming in
right.
to they can just like hire, and I think after that they can just like intern full time. With Waterloo, I guess the 4 month cycle it's kind of hard for the company because they don't want to like hire a person that just works for like 4 months and then just like goes off. But for student, it is like pretty good because you know how the working environment is, if you want to work the company for the rest of your life or not. So in that sense, I say Waterloo is pretty good, and UFT in terms of like studies, yeah.
Right. And looking back at my time in university and at these companies, I would 100% agree with you, Prabh. Like Waterloo, hands down, is the best university you can go to. I would even argue in North America. Like I place it at the same tier as MIT or Stanford or CMU for that matter. If you're looking to like join a tech company afterwards, or you're looking to build something of your own, and it's not only because of the co-op program, it's also because of the caliber of computer science students that you find in Waterloo. I've been to MIT for hackathons, and I can say confidently that I felt an average like Waterloo computer science student had more caliber than like an average MIT. Like
I
again,
wouldn't,
top 1% of MIT is like way ahead of top 1% of Waterloo. I'm
yeah,
only talking about the averages here
uh, yeah.
because I don't think an average like CS major in an MIT has worked at 6 different companies. But that's true for like an average Waterloo CS major, right? An average MIT major might have more theoretical knowledge, or they might have done more research, and there's no denying in that. But if you're looking at from like a professional standpoint, then I think um, Waterloo might be a better choice.
A lot of high schoolers think a 99% average guarantees them a spot at UW and completely shy away from the admission information form, AIF. Looking back, how critical was the AIF for you to getting in, and what is the biggest mistake you see applicants making today?
Again, a very good question, Prab. Um, I would say from like all my friends that I've interacted with, they all had like very high majors, like very high average in high school. Um, and I would still argue that if you're looking to get into Waterloo, good grades there's no substitute for that. Like a good grade is the number one thing that you can do to get into Waterloo. Um, but then, like if you think about it, there would be hundreds of other people who do have good grades, and they're also looking to get into Waterloo, right? And at that point, you only have the AIF to differentiate among candidates.
Because
So,
yeah,
because you're not the only one with high grades. Everyone who aims to get into a university like Waterloo comes in with high grades, comes in with good extracurriculars. So you need a way to differentiate yourself, and given the fierce amount of competition, um, like anything you can do to help your application, including writing like excellent AIFs, you should do that. I personally got mine reviewed by my counselor, um, but at least now that you have tools like GPT, at least get it reviewed by AI before submitting them.
no, I think a lot of people do the mistake of like, I think I did it. Like there was this funny incident where, I mean, I think a lot of people do that. So I was writing a cover letter for a company and used GPT for like their cover letters, and it gave like a really impressive cover letter with stuff that I hadn't even done,
Oh, um,
and I didn't like read it. So like if you use like AI softwares, it is pretty important to like just read it once.
yes, I mean,
Just
I felt that that goes without saying that if you're using AI, especially for something as important as like your university application essays, and again, I don't know what's the policy that universities have um, for writing essays with AI. Like if some university has a policy that don't use AI to write essays, then I don't think it's worth it to use AI in that
no, no. I
case.
think for cover letters, even UW advisors also like recommend that you can use them.
I see.
But the thing is, you have to like read it once just to make
Oh, for sure.
sure. Yeah, just to make sure it doesn't, because with AI, it has like a good amount of like data. It is just extracting data from
Right.
there, and just to, because you said make a cover letter for this particular job, it knows like this job, what are the requirements. Even if you don't have these requirements, I'm gonna fill it in. I'm gonna make you look the best.
And I'm
And
so jealous of these kids, Prabh, now that they have AI to generate those
yeah,
cover letters for them. I'm not very big on cover letters myself. I don't think I made a cover letter for any company since like my second year, I think, and that's been a while back. And I remember like while making the cover letters manually myself. Back then we had like these templated cover letters that you can just like very generic,
yeah,
right?
the Harvard ones, and yeah,
Yeah, like very generic cover letters for companies, and you could just like change the name of the company and then insert your name and change one or two lines, and then you could submit them. I forgot to change the name of the company while submitting a cover letter, and by the time I discovered that I did that in my Waterloo package, it was too late, and I was like, oh well,
but did you
there
get
goes
an
one
interview?
application. Oh no.
Yeah, so for me it was different. So my cover letter actually got to the interview stage.
Oh, that's nice.
No, that's not nice. The employer asked me, "Wait, you said in your cover letter you did these kind of things. Would you care to like?" Because that's what
Would you
employers
care to
do.
explain?
Would you
Yes.
care to explain? Now I'm processing like, what
What did
should
I
I
even put in my
say?
cover letter? Yeah, what did I even put in my cover letter?
So basically, I think I gave him like a bunch of like, I think I was applying for like data science jobs back then.
Right.
I gave it like a bunch of like Tableau for data science. Like you have to like arrange tables and stuff like that with like SQL and stuff.
Yeah.
I just made those projects, tell the AI, and AI kind of like flawlessly explain like these things did this. Now I know, and I'm guessing employer also know that these are basic projects. These are not really that much expensive. That much like that level of finesse and stuff
Right.
like that. So when he like asked me, then I told him like, yeah. So basically, I did this. I mean, I was able to make sense of it
Right.
to a point. Like I was able to tell him that even though it's basic, it is like pretty good. But I didn't get the job, which I kind of expected.
Yeah,
Which was,
not in the realms of unexpected, is it?
yeah.
But must have been a pretty stressful situation, like because you had to, on your feet, think about what you might have written on your cover letter and do your best to explain it.
Yeah, but I guess one point of learning from that was basically I know like now if I use AI, I should read my cover letters. I don't want to
Yes.
be put in this situation again.
I don't think, yeah, we can extrapolate that learning like even more, Prab. Um, like whatever you put out there in the world, it like could be any line that you write on your resume, anything that you put on your website. I think it's fair game for your employer to ask questions about that, and you should be prepared for answers.
Yeah,
That's like an advice I would give to incoming students or
and me as well.
yeah, you or anyone for that
Yeah.
matter. Like, and this goes a long way.
And looking back on the AIF, oh yeah, so another thing, I guess coming back from the Asian household background,
Yes,
we are taught a lot that there is, I think the Hindi term is nazar, that you shouldn't like boast too much about yourself.
right.
Which I mean, in the sense, basically, parents are saying you should be like stay to the ground, which is good in terms of like wellness and moral and stuff like
Yes.
that. But when you're going to companies, when you're filling out the EIF, I think I skimmed out on the EIF a lot.
Hmm.
I didn't mention the projects that I did. Like this was before GPT, so these were like my actual projects. I didn't mention the coding competitions I won. Just because I thought that I didn't want to like boast too much about
Brag about it
myself,
too much.
I didn't want to like be looked at as a show off.
Hmm.
But I didn't realize that this was AIF is also like a make it or break it situation in UW. Like you have to boast about yourself. You have to tell people what are the things that you do. Even in like interviews, you need to tell the employer that these are the things that I did.
Right.
That's why the employer like he would think like, oh yeah, this person did so much stuff.
Yes.
He might be worth hiring, or if you like shy away from that, then the employer doesn't have any reason to like hire you, or UW doesn't have any reason to like get
To admit
you,
you.
yeah, to
Yes.
admit you. What are your
Um,
thoughts on that?
I think this one hits home, Prab. Um, because even I used to be, and I still am shy when I have to talk about my achievements. But I think over time I realized that empty mouths don't get fed, and there's nothing like boastful about telling the world about your achievements, right? Uh, there are two parts to this whole equation. One is being good, and the other is showing the world that you're good. Like you could be a genius in your own mind, you could have best of the ideas, but if you can't communicate to the world that you're capable of working on those ideas, uh, then your talents would never get recognized, and you would never get the opportunities you know
That you
develop your
want, yeah.
talents further, or like be successful. So I think it's very important to put yourself out there, and in the most honest and respectful way, tell the world about your talents and your achievements. And I think there's nothing wrong about that. Like achievements is something that like it needs to be celebrated. Like when I hear of other people's achievements, I feel good about it, right? Um, and it motivates me to do even better. It's something even I used to struggle, and something I'm getting better at myself.
Right. Being an international student means navigating a massive cultural shift without family close by. Do you ever face intense homesickness, loneliness, and how did you deal with that? When the workload also like piles up.
I think for me, I got pretty lucky because I had like a big group of friends that helped me navigate those challenges. Like if I was facing like a big workload, it just so happened that my friends who are taking similar courses are facing the same kind of a workload, right? So I never felt like isolated in my struggle, and that's like one good thing about having like a big social circle, that you never feel alone. um, Loneliness, it still hits from time to time, and that's just something that you learn to deal with being an international student, being a first generation immigrant. um, so yeah, I think my advice would be, like staying in touch with your family. Um, and if you have a problem, like communicate that problem, right? Like by suppressing it even more, the situation would not get any better and you would feel worse. And then reach out to friends, right? Like you have to be good at communicating how you feel, and don't shy away from asking for help, right? Like it's something that I used to do when I was younger. Like I was very afraid uh, about asking for help from anyone, right? Um, but I think how the world works is we all help each other in the best capacity we can, right? Like I help my friends, so when I'm in a place of need, they do the same.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to put yourself in a vulnerable position because that's where like your pride comes in.
Yeah.
It is kind of hard to be vulnerable in front of a person and have like a bunch of friends. Like it's hard to find friends first of all in UW because like every single person is like busy with their own single grind.
I agree.
Yeah, so try. I guess the point to be taken from here is firstly like be vulnerable with in front of your friends. The friends who help you when you're vulnerable are your like most trusted friends. You
Yes.
can count on them to help you whenever you need it. There would be times where there would be friends that won't care about you or when you're at a place of need and they don't help you out. That doesn't mean that every single person is going to be like that. You have to like experiment. Uh, you have to connect with every single person. That's how you like find the people who are like truly with you for you. And I mean, I guess that's how you like really find good friends.
I think I agree, Prabh. I think it's a journey, right? There would be from time to time you'll encounter people who would take advantage of you or who you think are your good friends, but it turns out not, right? They'll like go behind your back or do things that you won't like, and that's just part of life, right? Um, I was a bit of a loner when I was back in high school. And one of the things that I decided back then was when I come to university, I don't want to, continue to be that way. Like it was an active decision that I had made back then that I want to meet more people and put myself out there. And it was very uncomfortable at first, right? I I got anxious when I was talking to like a big group of people. Uh, I didn't know like what venues, like what events to attend to meet more people. And close friendships is something I didn't have a lot back in high school. But these are all, skills that you can learn. And if you really want more friends, they won't come out of thin air. Like you'll have to put in work. You'll have to learn certain skills.
Between brutal course loads and the constant co-op hut, tech students hate walls hard. Have you ever had a moment where you felt completely broken off or burnt out during this degree? What did that look like and how did you crawl out of it?
Oh man. You're really going deep here, aren't you, Prabh? um, as a matter of fact, there wasn't just like one single moment where I was burned out and I hit the wall. I think throughout 5 years, there have been like multiple uh, such times where I've ended up in that spot. I'll talk about the hardest one. So after my second co-op, um, I came back into my 2B term, and I had a very heavy course load. I had five like major courses like related to math and CS, and that was a very heavy course load. And I also had to find a co-op. Um, like first cycle rolled in, I started interviewing. I sent out 50 applications. I didn't get a single interview. So, like even after 50 applications, um, I saw my friends, all getting good jobs. Um, all of them were, after you find a job, like an internship, I think the rest of the term you are more relaxed because like 70% of your worries are like lifted off from you. And so they were going about their life, enjoying the fall term. and I was just miserable, man. Like every single day I woke up, I just thought about the fact that I didn't have a co-op. I used to send out like many applications. I used to do all the lead code in the world, um, but I just didn't get any interviews, right? Um, and even towards the end, like you would expect, oh, there would be a magical moment where like a company would hit me up with an interview and I would clear it. But I just didn't find a co-op that term, and so the next term I had to like talk to my academic advisor, move around my co-op term to a study term, and then I took a ban from Waterloo Works. Um, but and I also realized that like I was burned out, so I tried not to think about it too much. I started going to gym more, uh, tried to hang out with friends more. Like after that, moved that co-op term to a study term, and then the next term I started fresh, right? Um, and I think I got pretty lucky that I was able to find an internship at Manulife, and I didn't stop. Even after I found an internship, I kept interviewing, and I hit like an internship with Mercury, and that changing point.
Yeah, I feel like you have to like keep on going. Because
Definitely,
for
you
yeah,
cannot stop.
for me it was different. I can't really relate to that one because I think for me it was kind of lucky. Because during my first like co-op cycle, I was worried because I didn't have any like CS courses to
Right.
get a CS job. My roommate at the time, he was in CS and he had gotten like super high grades.
Right.
We were applying for in university. There was the position e-learning developer assistant, which was basically HTML, CSS, JS, and Bootstrap.
Yes.
And I didn't have any CS courses during that time, but I made like a portfolio website uh, during that time by like seeing like an online tutorial.
Right.
And what I did was basically when they were interviewing, like, have you learned HTML? How much experience do you got? And basically when they asked all of the questions, what I did was I kind of like sort of pulled a trick. I told them, hey, this is like a portfolio website I'm working on. Would you like click this link and just tell me your feedback?
Yeah.
Why I think like that is the only point where they saw the website, which was in React, and React
Right.
was, I think during that time was everyone was like making impressive website with React.
Everyone was in the React train.
Yeah. So they liked it, and I was ranked first in the first cycle, in the first like the first like in everything.
Yeah.
So I was like really happy about it. But that obviously didn't like continue. In the second cycle, I wanted to like try something else. So IST kind of like came up, and I did that for the third cycle as well. Just because my mother was like really worried that after the second cycle ends, there's only like third or fourth cycle. During that time, we had like four
Yeah,
cycles.
third, fourth cycle is
So she wanted me to like take the job rather than like, because we had a lot of like other friends that hadn't like scored any job, and she didn't want me to like take the same risk. So I took the job, but I didn't. I mean, I like the working environment, but because with hackathons, all of the stuff that I did, I I feel like I was a builder. I wanted to like build more things. IST, I mean, yeah, I met a bunch of people, really nice people. The work environment was really good. The pay was like really good. But as a builder, I didn't have anything to like build. The only thing that I built was a chatbot for IST to like help, because we have like a lot of information to go through.
right.
So I built a RAG chatbot using the pipelines and instructions. So basically, all the guidelines that we were taught, the bot has the access to it. And if a starting person, like during the first week, we have like co-ops working with us, like previous co-ops, to guide the students. And if they are busy, I think the chatbot is like one thing that students could like ask without feeling like judged
Right.
and without in like embarrassment. So that was one way the student can like benefit from that. And from my end, I can use my coding skills to, and my building passion to like build something like that. And I think that one is still under like review. It hopefully gets passed and the IST uses it, but I build that.
Must have
So
been a good feeling, Prabh,
yeah,
like as a builder, seeing something which people would be able to interact with, seeing something just end to end, like you take an idea that's in your head and you sit down on your laptop, you start coding up something, like first few tries, it doesn't work out. But that feeling when you see like a final polished version that ultimately, people would end up using, it's a great feeling, like only people who build can understand what I mean, including you, like
yeah,
you know what I mean, right? And it's something that people chase. Like once you become a builder, you always have that feeling that you keep chasing, no matter where you go.
yeah. And for the fourth cycle, like this one that happened, uh, I scored a bunch of interviews. So I got interview from Bitco.
Right.
Uh, didn't pass that.
It's normal now to not get too many interviews. I think the market is very brutal out there, and we can all agree.
I think place yourself out there. It's all about luck. Like sometimes you get a good company, sometimes you don't. I mean, I was really happy that I scored a company like Cloud Kitchens, which was
Right.
an interview with like Cloud Kitchens. Even when I was getting rejection letters from Nokia. So
No disrespect to Nokia,
yeah, but
yes.
that was like that was the thing. And I mean, it also like feels kind of bad when you kind of like scored a good company and
Right.
you still get that automated rejections. Like this was like I think I got one yesterday from a company I don't want to like name,
Right.
but it was like an automatic. Oh, like you applied to this company, but unfortunately our position has been filled. So I mean, like I already am like working
Yes, I know what you mean.
working
You're
at like
already
an
working full
intern. Like I feel like these are more like to make you feel bad. Oh, you didn't get in.
I think that's something that like these emails are something that you have to accept when you like start your job search. Like you'll always have emails like those. I remember getting emails from companies that I didn't even remember applying to in the first place, which was pretty funny, right? I heard from a friend that he got a rejection email from the company that he went on to work at, right? Like he was working at that company and then he got a rejection email from the same company.
I think you applied to like multiple jobs.
Yes,
Yeah.
he applied to like a different position within the same company, and I think that rejection might have been from the other position. But again, the matter of fact is, like, let's say you apply to 100 companies, right? Like, you probably won't get in
All of them.
90% of them at least.
No, sorry,
You won't get
not
in,
all.
yeah, not all of them. Like, if your rejection rate is that bad, then you might have to do some
Yeah.
introspection. Um, but each job cycle you should aim to learn more about the process, right? Like for the companies that you didn't get an interview for, like what could you have changed in the resume that would have gotten you an interview? And again, this is not a very easy question to answer. Like you have to look at the keywords in your resume. If you happen to know someone that got an interview, and if they happen to be like a close friend, look at their resume and ask yourself like, what is in their resume that's not in yours, that you can change. And again, that change itself might take a long time. It might be like getting into a company with a bigger brand recognition, um, and for the companies that you did get an interview for, right, and you failed some rounds, you should look and introspect at the kind of questions that you were not able to do. It could be that you knew how to solve the question, but you choked under pressure, or that you were not able to finish in time, or you could have written the code better, or you weren't able to debug. Like there are a number of reasons for a bad interview, and I personally like to like make a list of things that I could have done better at interviews, and from time and time again, I'll look at the list, and especially before interviews,
Yeah, I
to
feel like
avoid repeating the same mistakes again.
yeah, I feel like you should always like see what you did wrong, even if you got an interview, which is good. Like your resume passed the ADS check, which
Right.
is like one of the best
I think it's
things
the
you can
hardest
have.
thing. Like
Yeah, you can.
passing ATS is the hardest thing.
Yeah, so that means your resume is good.
Right.
Now, see what you did in the interview, what things that you did were wrong or could have been avoided, or like the code that you didn't understand, you should like practice more. Or there were some JS, TypeScript, or like Python concepts you didn't know, like hash map and stuff like that you didn't know. Like you should practice on that. So the next, I mean, even if you fail, don't like, I think there's no reason to like stress out about that now rather than just like stressing about it, wasting another day or two, just like thinking of, because that's what I used to do. Like if I didn't got a job, I was just like you know, the self hatred or like
Oh
the
yes.
demotivation kind of like comes in,
Demotivation.
and your brain kind of like works in the pattern. Like whatever you are thinking is just gonna like add more to it. That can be done in a positive way and a negative way.
Oh yeah.
So if you're thinking like, oh, I failed the interview, I'm not gonna get any job,
Right.
that's not true. Like you basically got an interview, which was like the hardest thing to get, like
Right.
passing the ATS. Like it was like some sort of learning. You didn't like fail the whole thing. You know, like there are some key points that you can improve on next time.
Again, yeah, you have to look at it exactly the way you described. I think the whole process of job search, interviewing, I think of it as an art which you improve over time, and you'll always have things you can improve on. And if you look at things from this perspective, then you're more likely to improve in the future rather than looking at it from a negative point of view where you're thinking that you're not adequate or there's something inherently wrong in your genetics. I know people who think that, Prabh, like it may be funny to us now, but there are people who think they aren't like smart enough to get into these companies, so they don't even put effort in the first place to do basic research or practice the kind of coding questions that are asked in these companies. Um, and and this was like a concept that I had read a couple of months ago. It boils down to the difference between like a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Right, growth mindset is what we were talking about um, like a few moments ago. Like the whole thing about improving what you're doing or how you do your interviews and always constantly learning in the process. And fixed mindset, people believe that their skill set remains fixed always, and if they're not able to pass their interviews, it's because the skill set that they're born with is not good enough. So I think you should always strive uh, to have like a growth mindset, and whenever you catch yourself uh, going into like that whole negative self-deprecating loop, uh, you should observe it and then try to do things to stop it. And again, I feel it's completely normal to feel sad for a few days or even a few hours that you were not able to get into a company that you dream of working on, and that's all right. I think it happens to the best of us. Even after so many years of interviewing, if there was a company that I really, really wanted to contribute to as an engineer and I don't end up getting in, I still feel sad. But then I think over time I've learned to recognize those patterns and
Yeah, I mean, there's always like the learning point. Like for me, when I was writing like the cover letters with ChatGPT that didn't turn out well, or the resumes that I would like write up, I usually like then get the resumes like reviewed by upper year students. Like I already like showed you, I
yeah.
think 2 or 3 times. I think I showed Priyanshu that much time that he, even if he like ripped the resume, I would like understand that, understand the frustration, because
If
I
you
just,
send me like a few more times, I would have
yeah,
recited your resume by heart by now.
by 4 or 5 times. But that's what friends are. Like your friends, if you're lucky enough to have like good friends, like in CS or like upper years, not even in CS, if you're lucky enough to have like good, genuine friends,
Good,
it
yes.
is like one of the hardest things to do in university and in life. But yeah, Priyanshu then told me like you should have a good amount of numbers, which I guess people don't realize. Like numbers play a good amount of trick because these are like easier to scan to the human eye. If you're applying to a big company like Amazon, Google, Meta, they are getting like thousands of applications or even like more, to be honest.
Hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
applications, probably.
So firstly, it gets filtered out by the ATS, and even if the employer has like a bunch of resumes, it's easier to see the things that captivate their eye,
Right.
and then they kind of like decide on which like student to go for. For me, I never used numbers until I realized that this was like an important thing to do. Technologies that I used, how I used to like build it, hackathons that I did, not putting all of the hackathons, but the hackathons that you actually won, like, and awards that you won in those
Right.
hackathons, or the extracurricular that you did are
Mhm.
like that are necessary to your technical stuff. But you gain all of these things as you go forward. If you just like stay there, just like self-hating, demotivating yourself, you
Right.
aren't gonna like do anything, to be honest.
And I 100% agree, Prabh. Um, I think statistics on your achievements is very important. What I realized with time is employers don't care. I mean, they do care about like
No, they,
the kind of stuff
yeah,
that you build, but I think they care more about like what impact has your piece of code achieved, right? Like, oh, you build a SaaS service, that's great. So have hundreds of thousands of other applicants who are applying to this company, right? Like, what has your SaaS done which differentiates it from other SaaS that other people build? The work like you do, does it have like monetary value for the organization, right? Are there paying customers for your service? I think these are questions which hiring managers and recruiters think about a lot when they're like recruiting for people in tech. And I feel there are also things that you should think about yourself. Like the more you focus on these, you'll be able to improve as an engineer. So, like my advice to anyone who's looking for, and it's completely normal that when you're starting out, you don't have these numbers on your resumes. So the next time you're working a project for your company, or you're just building something of your own, right? Make a note of these things. Let's say that you made a change that reduces latency while when you're loading the front page. Like take a note of it, right? Like make a note of the changes that you made and the impact that you were able to achieve. Or let's say like you rolled out a feature, um, use some sort of like analytics or tracking to see how many people ended up using it. Right? Use things like post hoc to track the number of hits that your page is getting, or um, the number of times people click around your components. I think these things will help a lot when you're interviewing for companies and you're telling them about the kind of work that you did.
so Waterloo is full of hyperachievers, and there's always a bigger fish. When you see peers landing insane roles, people tend to get secretly jealous. How do you deal with that specific toxic energy and stay focused on your own path?
I think that this feeling is natural to some extent, right? I'm not saying everyone is the same, right? Like you wouldn't always go around and when you see someone get into like a company that you wanted to work for, um, you might feel inadequacy on your part, right? And there's no amount of advice which will get rid of that feeling. I think we are natural, like sorry, we're humans, and it's a natural feeling, and that does happen from time to time. But I think it's important that you channel that energy uh, into growing yourself, like growing your own skills. So the next time you see someone who has achieved something that you wanted, instead of like asking, oh, why am I not adequate enough to get that, or why is this person getting this and not me, like ask yourself, oh, what is one thing that I can do today which will help me move one step closer to
Yeah,
that goal that you have.
yeah, and adding on to it, if he or she is your connection or a second or third connection
Right.
on LinkedIn that posted that they got into Google
Right.
or they got into like some big MNC, rather than feeling jealous and like comparing yourself with them, which wouldn't do anything to you or to them, like it would just cause you more stress. One thing you could do on LinkedIn, you can basically just reach out to them. It's just simple as that. Just reach out to them because I have had friends that scored in like good MNCs. I
Right.
just reach out to them like, hey, you scored this company. Would you mind sharing how was the interview process? Because I'm also like going for this particular MNC or company. This is my current resume. What tips would you like give me? What skills should I go for? Some things you would recommend I should like do. Not all the time you would get a response. I would even tell you that. Like some people didn't respond to me. 4 out of 5 people didn't respond to me, and it's not bad. I mean, if you look at that, you aren't the only one who kind of like figured this out. Like you
Right.
should email people. A lot of people are emailing them right now. Maybe also if they're working at a big company, it is like
It's quite common for like their inboxes to be filled with
filled up
people asking for like referrals. That
referrals.
happens.
Oh yeah, and this was actually like a pretty good topic with Prabh. We were like talking about referrals. He would get referrals, people asking for referrals, even though he was an intern. Like
Yes, they ask me for referrals, man, and like I would be very happy to give it to them. But
but
then
you're not full
I'm
time.
yes, I was an intern. It's not that my referral would matter in their hiring. Um, and I think you bring up a very good point, Rob. That like if you see someone that you admire,
Just
there is no harm
ask
in like
them.
asking them, how did you get here? Like, what are things that you did which helped you, get an interview, or how did you practice for the coding round?
And most of the time, people won't respond. You don't have to like feel demotivated. Just like forget you even like asked,
Right.
because there would be like one time because you don't need to like if you just like think about that. That is also
I
like
mean, the reality is,
yeah.
like people are busy with their life.
But they would get around it eventually because when I said 4 out of 5, two of them actually got around and replied back. Told me like, hey, this was the interview process. Congrats on scoring one. Uh, these are the things that I did. If you could send me a resume, I can take a look. I sent them the resume and they told me what are. I mean, I didn't send them like 2 or 3 times because I know that would like waste of time. But yeah, so just like ask them, see what things you can do, and it's just simple as that. You don't even like have to feel nervous about it.
Right.
And basically, you are building your self confidence in that way as well. All right. So the next question is on the current viral trend that is going on. I'm not sure if you heard the term Looksmaxxing. Tech students love to optimize everything: code, resumes, routines. Now we have this massive Looksmaxxing trend taking over the internet. As guys in a hyper competitive space, what are your thoughts on it? Is it just self improvement rebranded, or has it become completely toxic?
It's funny that Looksmaxxing made it to the podcast club. I'll be very honest. I think the first time I heard of Looksmaxxing was not from like Instagram or X. I think it was when we were having conversations at home. That was the first time I heard of Looksmaxxing, and then I searched it up even further. Um, and the whole idea of it, I thought it's like an internet meme, and that's how I still think of it today. Um, like self improvement trend has been going on for like a long time, and I do think like it's a positive movement that encourages people to go to the gym, uh, lead a more healthy lifestyle, socialize more. But when I looked more into look maxing, I thought it's like another form of this self help thing. Um,
It's
it's
far
something,
from
yeah.
it. It's far from it.
It's hard for me to stay composed and talk about look maxing because the whole idea of it is so absurd that it's hard to talk about it seriously or take it seriously for that matter. I think it's a very dangerous idea. Like there are some aspects that I like. On a very raw level. Look, Maxers talk about taking care of your health, sleeping more, eating better, uh, and those are like generally like these are like general guidelines for leading a healthy life, and I these are things I would recommend to everyone. But then if you dig deeper into this whole of look maxing, you encounter people recommending, like height enhancing surgeries, which are very dangerous in nature. People taking steroids to artificially
Enhance.
enhance their looks, and all sorts of things, which I don't agree with. They impact your health negatively.
Alright, that ties right into dating. Waterloo has a notorious reputation for being socially dry, yet you've managed to maintain an actual relationship while you were here. How do you approach dating in such a time starved, high pressure environment?
Oh God. um, I think there is some truth to Waterloo being dry. Uh, I think people are more social in like first year, first term, when everyone is living on campus and when you don't have to worry about job search. Um, it was also the best time for making friends back then. And quite honestly, most of the friends that I've had, I made them back in my very first term at Waterloo. After that, it becomes, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it becomes like notoriously hard uh, to maintain friendships and relationships because you're moving around cities. Your courses get harder. You spend a lot of time preparing for these job interviews, and overall, like, you feel very drained for any relationships, and even maintaining friendships, it does get hard.
Yeah, I feel like Prabhav also picked on the same thing. One point I would like take from that one is if you are in a course uh, and the course ends, it's kind of your responsibility if you want to like maintain a relationship or a friendship to like hang out with them,
Right.
have certain common things, and just like keep the thing going. That's the only way, I guess.
I think I would agree with you, Prab. Like I always say this, but you're the only person who's responsible for your needs, wants, keeping yourself healthy and happy. Um, and you have to like take steps to make that happen, right? Like if you don't have enough friends, like for me personally, I went to computer science club, and that's when I met like a lot of my current friends, and it helped me like immensely. It's still today I'm in touch with a lot of them, and we hang out, we grab dinner sometimes. So I think it's your responsibility to put yourself in positions where you'll be able to meet people. Uh, and a lot of times, what happens is you meet someone like once or twice, and then you never meet them again. So I guess the meta is do activities which allow you to see those people like regularly and consistently. For instance, I joined like computer science club. I did jujitsu for a while. I did rock climbing, and these places, uh, I met people who came regularly, consistently, and that allowed the friendship to develop over time. You also have to like make an effort to see them outside of that space, like ask to grab dinner or go for walks or grab bubble tea. And it's a question I still think about, right? Like how do you make friends? How do you transition from just knowing someone to becoming like a good friend and getting in their inner circle? I don't honestly have like a good answer for that. I think
Yeah,
it happens naturally and over time.
you just have to have
It
the
needs, yeah,
patience.
it requires time, patience, and certain conditions, right? Like if both of you are like very busy with your coursework assignments, then it's not going to happen. And I do agree that Waterloo, it's a harder place overall to make and maintain friendships and relationships. But I definitely think it is possible.
Yeah, because I think one of the most famous quotes from Elon Musk was he actually got into Queen's University and University of Waterloo,
Right.
and he says he almost attended University of Waterloo, but later he chose Queen's University because he said he went on the campus tour and he didn't want to, and it was almost entirely of dudes, and he was looking for a better social and dating environment.
Looking back, I don't blame Elon Musk.
Right, so you have cracked interviews at Amazon, Mercury, and passed all three technical rounds at Google. What is your blueprint for cracking both technical and behavioral bars at elite level companies? Is there a difference between interviewing for a fast-paced SF startup versus a FAANG giant?
Oh, definitely. I think there's a lot packed in your question, Prabh. Um, so let's first talk about like my blueprint for cracking technical and behavior interviews at these companies. Um, and I think you need separate preparation for behavioral rounds and technical rounds. Like they have different formats for technicals, but there are some things you can do to optimize for technicals at all companies, on a general level, which is for me personally, I just did like lead code side problems. There are many lists out there in the internet. Blind 75 is a big one. Lead code 150 is a very big one. If there's anyone wondering how to get started with lead code, or even if you're like just getting started and you're wondering what questions I should practice for preparing for these interviews, and I really recommend practicing from these standard lists. And even for behavioral, I believe there are like some common questions which hiring managers ask a lot. Questions like, "Oh, tell me about a time you resolved a conflict on your team. Tell me about a time you faced a challenge and how you dealt with it." Just like generic questions like those, and I feel you should go in prepared with answers for those questions. And preparation, I feel, is the meta here. Like, no matter which company, you should do some research on what the company does. You should practice tagged problems on lead code for like that specific company. For Amazon and Google, I did that. And coming on to your next question, I think you asked if there's a difference between
Yeah.
interviewing for like a fast-paced SF startup or interviewing for FAANG. I feel there is a very big difference. For FAANG style interviews, I think there are multiple rounds of like either lead code or system design problems. And yeah, like system design is another thing which you need to prepare for. Not so much like for intern roles, but interviewing around for like new grad roles or full time roles. Then you need to study system design. There are books. I read this book called Designing Data Intensive Applications that helped me a lot. You can take courses like distributed systems and networks, which helped me a lot. But yeah, I find these are the things that they care about, like lead code style problems and system design problems. Whereas at fast-paced SF startups, they really care if you can build something from zero to one. Right? At FAANG, they care about scaling something, millions of customers. They care if the design that you have built, it would tolerate like lots of users hitting your server at once. If you have like proper load balancing, things like that. With SF startups, it's like, oh, can you just ship this feature in a day? Because startup in startups, like speed is everything. Speed is the mode. So there's definitely that. For SF startups, I usually revised like the designs that I made for my personal projects because from my experience, they've cared a lot more about that. And just do like just ask GPT to generate like some
Questions,
practical
yeah.
coding challenge and then do it real time. I think that would help you a lot.
When you prepared for Google, did you just rely on general problem solving or did you prepare specifically for a Google style? Was the exact prep look like?
Right. Uh, so Prab, like if you have good technical skills that translate to most companies in general, Amazon, they like the questions they ask, they focus a lot more on like string manipulation, sliding windows. They don't ask a lot of graph problems. And Amazon and Google, they love to ask graph problems, dynamic programming kind of problems. So when you're preparing, like initially you should focus on clearing up your fundamentals and having like a good foundation for all these topics. But then eventually you would need to tailor your preparation for a specific company. And how you can do that is there are websites like Blind75 where people talk about the kind of coding challenges they got at these companies, or you can go to Lead Code, get premium. I have premium. I think it's a very good investment that I made. And you can search and solve for like frequently asked tagged problems. So I think to summarize, you need to have like a good technical base. overall for these interviews, but in the end, you need to tailor your preparation specific to a company by doing research.
Let's talk about a brutal situation that you're in right now. You passed all the technical rounds at Google, but you're also sitting in the team matching limbo. How do you manage, while also you have like offers in your hand that are currently ticking with deadlines?
Right.
How do you manage that specific anxiety when your future is floating in midair and the clock is ticking on your options? How was that?
Um, Initially, I definitely felt the pressure, the taking offers, and Google is indeed, like a very big name. But I slowly started to realize that, Google is, at the end of the day, is just a company, right? It's just another tech company. And when I did the interviews, I realized that those interviews were just like any other interviews that I would do for like a tech company. And I wasn't the only one who was like in the Google team matching phase. There are hundreds of people who are in the same position as me, like new grads seeking role, but Google, unfortunately, they don't have headcount currently, and they're in the same limbo, right? So one thing was I realized that I wasn't alone, and Google was just like another tech company. Going to Google might even stagnate my growth because I realized working at Mercury, I really liked the fact that my code was, being used by real people. Thousands of users across North America, they are interacting with the features that I shipped at Mercury. At Amazon, I was just another cog in, machinery. So that's not something I liked, and I feel if I end up going to Google, most probably like a similar fate awaits me. I think different people have different taste in the kind of work that they like to do. Different people have different preferences about the kind of work life balance that they want to have. And I don't even think that's like your preferences would stay constant throughout time. Like they're bound to change over time. What I like now, I might not like it, 5, 10 years down the line. A lot of young people, they start in like very fast paced roles that have like a lot of stress, and then they transition into like a lot of them, they even end up going at banks, taking up like a more chill VP kind of role, director kind of role. So yeah, I think it does boil down to preference. I would add that, like a big name definitely helps, like a big name like Google or Amazon. But it's not like if you really have the skills and you put yourself out there, that would carry you and take you more places compared to if you just rely on those names and then you stagnate and you don't work at those companies. People who have Google on their resume and they've like done something at Google, definitely they found it easier to transition from Google to other roles. But I've also known of cases where people, they just got into Google, they didn't do any work, they didn't like learn any new skills, they got kicked out, and now they're struggling to find a new job.
Yeah, but the main question is how do you, because you aren't the only one. There are like thousands of people, hundreds of people waiting for Google to like
Right.
get their team matching done. In times like this, when even if we not talk about Google, at a company that you're waiting to hear back from, well, you have like other offers, but this is one of the companies that you want. Or if you have like no job offers, this is the only company that you have. How would you deal in that kind of environment? How would you like make like focus on everything else? Because it's hard. Like your brain
Right.
is constantly reminding you, like your co-op or like your post grad role is like coming. If you don't score this job, what have you got?
I think there's definitely, ego speaking sometimes, uh, and you will get like you'll satisfy your ego by like getting into Google, but you have to ask yourself, is it really something that I want? Like, is there something which is a better calling for me, which I would want if the society didn't care, right? Um, and not everything is in our control, right? Sometimes you just have to let go and let life happen. Like you cannot control when the headcount would open up on Google, or for that matter, for any company, or when the economy would improve, when people would start getting more interviews. And you can take steps to mitigate those, but you can never have like 100% guarantee. because these things are not in your control, right? You only control your skills, your preparation. You don't control timing. So I think at some point you have to let go, and you have to trust the process, that even if you don't get that offer that you like right now, it's not the end of the world, and there would be like another path, equally good path, if not even better, that would take you somewhere else. But I believe in the end that if we put in the work, we'll get wherever that we have to, right? It might not be the journey that you first envisioned that you will have. Might not be like a very smooth path from start to end, but we'll all make it. You just enjoy the journey, Prabh. I feel control is an illusion. It's a very big illusion. You have to get lucky sometimes, but I think the burden on you lies that you have to put yourself in situations where you can get lucky. Like if you're just sitting at your home playing video games, you're not going to get lucky, right? But if you're constantly learning, you're constantly applying or building and meeting people, then you create your, like, you'll allow for more opportunities to be lucky.
You have to like keep on improving in that sense.
I agree.
I don't remember what it actually was, but the main aspect was the person who enjoys the journey is gonna do more progress than the person who likes the destination.
Yes. And sometimes I feel you might even like get to your end goal. You'll reach the destination, and then you'll find out that you don't even enjoy it that much. Um, like a fun fact about me was before working at Amazon, actually, the year before that, I had cracked Amazon intern interviews, and I was almost at the offer stage, but I didn't get matched to a team. Like I got put into a wait list back then, and because there were too many people already waiting for a spot, I wasn't lucky enough to get off the wait list, and I ended up getting a job at Amazon that term. Eventually made it, and I felt good for what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then life went back to normal.
The
I was
fun,
working
yeah.
there. Yeah, the fun is in the journey, right? Like all those nights that you spend lead coding, preparing for interviews, um, watching your friends do the same.
And the fun part was Priyanshu actually cracked the Amazon interview, but failed the G2 driving test.
I was hoping
And
we
we
don't talk
were,
about
yeah,
the
yeah.
G2 driving test.
And we were like making this conversation. We were talking about a kid who got rejected from Harvard, MIT, but cracked the Google interview. So I gave him the philosophy or a quote
You gave me
that
the reason, yeah, like your
reasoning
reasoning
that
was.
maybe Harvard, MIT is like much harder to crack than a Google interview. Then Priyanshu replied, "What did you say?"
I think I replied with a similar analogy, right? Like if we extrapolate on your logic, then I could say that I cracked Amazon interview, but I failed my G2 driving test.
So
Therefore,
G2
G2 driving
test.
test must be harder than the Amazon interview. Like I was just trying to show the fallacy in your argument there. It was quite funny.
Yeah. You have placed in top 7.5% of 20,000 plus people in Facebook Hacker Club, placed 10th at Hack MIT for the IBM Dream Challenge, and top 5 in Cohere Rag Challenge. Do high profile competitive coding and hackathons actually open doors on resume, or are they just a flex?
I feel proud. Sometimes they might, but I've never had, like, during an interview, someone mentioned that they were impressed by like my good run in competitive coding or hackathons. I feel sometimes when you are at a hackathon, and it's a company is sponsoring the hackathon and they take interest in your project, it might help you then to get an interview. But personally, I don't think I got an interview through like hackathons or just competitive coding per se.
So you can take part in them to like improve your coding skills, but you shouldn't have like the alternate reasoning that you would get hired from them.
Yes, I think I do encourage people to take part in hackathons. I feel I didn't do enough hackathons back in university. I feel they're a great way to meet other like-minded people, get some awesome projects under your belt, make really good memories. Competitive coding, I would say I'm not too sure if I recommend it now. Like I think you're better off just making your own projects and
Refining them over
yeah,
time.
yeah, just doing basic lead code. I think competitive coding for me was like a waste of time. Although it did help me in interviews, but I think that time could have been spent better off in other places.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that is one thing that a lot of people, like even myself, kind of like think. Like I used to think that even though I liked my time at ISC, maybe if I had gotten a software job, maybe if I had tried, if like that, if comes up. But I'm not really sure. What if I had skipped the ISG role and didn't got any job? Those are like things you. I mean, looking back on it, you should be happy you got these experience out of it.
Right.
You participated in not all of the hackathons, but the ones that you did, you should be happy with them. I think looking back on it, you should just not think like what could have been, but enjoy what has it been.
I think I agree, Prabh. Like this, the whole question of what if. It's a very hard question to answer, and not one that you can answer accurately. Right? Anything could have happened. Life is very unpredictable, so you should not question a what if on various points in your life and wonder what could have happened. Right? Like anything could have happened. Just accept what has happened and then just continue from where you are.
Early on, you hit the startups like Bot Build, a YC company, doing distributed systems, and Mercury out in SF. What is the actual vibe in SF compared to Waterloo or Toronto? Having tasted the Bay Area tech scene, do you see yourself moving to the States full time or staying in Canada?
I think the vibe is very different. Like at Waterloo, I feel people are very narrow minded. Like they're only focused on getting like a certain high paying job, and if they achieve that, majority of people are just satisfied by that. Like they don't want to think beyond. In SF, just the vision is very big. So I do want to give a correction that I didn't live in SF Club. I worked out of New York, and then one time I was doing remote, but I did get to visit SF and live with my friends who were working at a startup and see all the wonderful things that they're doing there. And from like that 1 week that I spent living in SF, I it just shocked me, the amount of energy that that place has, the amount of enthusiasm that I see in people, and everyone there is aware of tech or somehow involved in tech. The talent density is incredible, and people have like a very big vision, which I don't see that much in Waterloo. Although I would say like with things like Socratica, it is changing, and I see like the more younger people come in, I get similar vibes that I got from founders in SF.
You stayed in New York for 4 months when you were interning at Mercury. How was that experience?
Oh man. um, I before the 4 months prior to that, I was living in Vancouver, right? I used to go hiking. I was open to like all. I was used to like open spaces, mountains, lakes, and I was overall like a very active person. I used to walk to the office, and then I was thrown into the dirty streets and the subway cars of New York.
It's
Uh,
not bad. I mean,
I think okay, the first time I visited New York, I liked it a lot more. But then I grew out of it. Like I started to like nature a lot more, and I don't enjoy cities as much now. Although I did have like a great time there, just because I knew many other Waterloo people and we did like a lot of things together. And working out of New York was definitely an experience. Like going to all those rooftop bars and exploring the city at night, roaming around Brooklyn Bridge, all the classic New York things. TV series and films, they definitely like try to sell you that New York lifestyle. And it's something we all watched growing up, and some of us even wanted to live that kind of life when we were
kids.
kids.
Yeah.
But as I grew up, I think come to the realization that it might not be something for me. I also saw the realities of living in New York, right? I used to live like in a tiny apartment, paying $3,000 in rent.
That's USD.
Yeah, that's
That's
USD,
That's
right? $3,000 in rent, and then just going on the subway, seeing like miserable people just commuting to office, living paycheck to paycheck. And even people in the gym, they seemed very stressed. I did see the ambition there, like people who worked in the finance space, they were hungry and there were definitely like a lot of incredible builders in New York who are doing amazing things, but it's just not the place for me overall, is what I conclude.
With a resume like yours, you could easily coast into a comfortable FAANG job. Yet, you're currently working on a second startup after your first one didn't work out. Why choose the brutal, uncertain part of an entrepreneur over a guaranteed paycheck?
No, it's funny that you call a FAANG job like a comfortable, because I think I would disagree there. I don't think FAANG jobs are comfortable at all. I think there's a very high pressure to deliver. There's a lot of office politics and the growing PIP culture. Amazon, for instance, they always PIP the bottom 10% of their workforce. They're conducting mass layoffs. That's across like all big companies, not just like FAANG. We've seen this in Atlassian, we've seen this in Block, Coinbase,
Meta.
Meta, so many others, right? So I don't think like it's an easy, comfortable path anymore. Uh, that might have been something which was true like 4 5 years,
Before AI.
like 5 6 years ago, but it's no longer true, right? I think I realized so this was in January of this year. My friend came up to me. We were discussing the idea of Snacksync, and then later when we started building it, it was then I realized how much I enjoy building software, right? And I enjoyed the same thing at the companies I worked for as well. But I always had to ask for permission before building something, build it a certain way, even though I would have liked to shape it in some other direction. I didn't have a lot of freedom around the kind of work that I do. And for some of the stuff that I worked on, I didn't even get to see the full life cycle of it because I only worked there for 4 months. And I didn't get to interact with a lot of people or do any client facing work majority of the time. So after I did experience all of that, building my own projects, I felt I learned a lot more doing that compared to working like a SWE role at a FAANG company. And don't get me wrong, I definitely like SWE and enjoy, atmosphere and all the perks that come with working at like a big tech company. But there's certainly like a joy in having something of your own, working at your own pace, and working with like friends that you met in university that you know for a long time. It feels like a hackathon on repeat. Although there are some parts that you would rather not deal with, and there are some parts which I wasn't good at first, but I feel I'll learn more in the long term if I just stayed at like a sweet job at a company, because like growth stagnates after some time, and I don't want to be in a position where I've stagnated and I've stopped learning.
Yeah, I think the main part is that when you're working as a software engineer at a company, you aren't doing like a bunch of extracurricular stuff. You are like just
Right,
the fixing all the bugs or implementing the
right.
UI fixes. With startups, the hard part is you not only have to code, you have to build relationships, you have to talk to people, get a good amount of customer validation. Like, why should someone purchase your product? Then a lot of other skills like enhancing your product from social media, video editing, doing a bunch of like advertisements, asking people questions. So the main question is, why not just stay doing coding? Why choose this extensive path?
Prab, coding is definitely something I enjoy, but I also enjoy other things, right? Like talking to people or solving problems at scale that don't have to be just technical problems. And with the advent of AI and the foundation models getting more and more better, I've come to this realization that we don't really require more engineers to write code, because AI is writing all the code. At all the companies I worked for, most of the code is now being written by AI. I hate to say this, but I don't think going forward in the future we'll require people to write code. And AI would even get better at things like system design, which would reduce the need for engineers even more. But we still need people who can solve problems, who can take those technical skills and generate value out of it. And I really want to be involved in that, the whole life cycle of it. I wasn't good at pitching my startups to VCs or explaining to customers why this would solve their problems. And it's something that I'm still trying to get better at. But it's something that I've started to enjoy, and I want to continue down this path and see where it takes me.
Yeah, best of luck on that. Unlike engineering, faculties that have built in capstone projects and incubators like Velocity. The math faculty don't have that built-in safety net to build a startup. How did you navigate building a company from scratch without that structural university support?
In my case, Prabh, I feel pretty lucky because I had like a very like-minded co-founder, and we cared more about like building than searching for incubators or VCs who would fund us. That made things like a lot easier. And I'm not like a big believer of the university provided startup incubators. Not because like they're necessarily bad, but I like building at my own pace with less restrictions. I don't know their terms. I don't know how they operate. Building something is as simple as opening like an instance of Claude, envisioning what you want, and then like spend a day or two, and then you'll have a working MVP. And I do agree having something like a capstone project would have made life easier for me and allowed me to work on something for longer. I don't think of it as a limitation.
Do you also know that the University of Waterloo's math faculty is the only faculty without a capstone? Literally, every single faculty has a
Oh my
capstone
God.
project. Like even
I wasn't aware of that. I thought capstone projects were something very specific to the engineering faculty. I didn't know that arts faculty were in
yeah, the
sense having
GBA
a
students
capstone.
make their own startups and then
Oh.
with the capstone project and they
I
continue.
think that's amazing.
Yeah.
If that was the case, I would expect more startups out of Waterloo, but they're not that many that I've heard of.
Yeah, the hard part is, I think, with Velocity, because I too like took some of my projects and ended up winning their outstanding pivot award. I'll talk about that in another video for like tips and stuff on how you can do that. But Velocity, when I first like started it, it was hard because like I didn't even know like what startups like go for, because what things can I do, because there are a lot of like products already for a problem that needs to be solved. So I think the first part is see what problem currently is going on, how you can make it easier, whether it be with AI or any like hardware. You don't really have to be a CS major, engineer major. You can literally be anyone. You can just like make friends or have a group of people that have the same vision for you. When you like enter the startup market, you would see there are a lot of like people competing in the thing you're
That's
going
gross.
for, and there are a lot of like big companies already having a good share of the market. So it's hard, but if you enjoy the process of if you're passionate about startup, you should definitely give it a try.
I completely agree here, Prab. I feel anything is hard. Life is not easy. Like software engineering work is hard. Navigating promotion cycles at FAANG is hard, right? Even if you look at like blue collar jobs, these people, they wake up at like 4, 5 a.m. in the morning. They work like 12, 16-hour shifts. They have it a lot harder than us, right? So you have to choose what hard that you want to pursue. So why not pick a hard that you really enjoy? And no matter what you do, there would always be competition. Um, and like in any market, competition just tells you that there is demand for that. Like there's demand for something. If you found a novel market, good for you. I hope it works out. But if otherwise, you'll always have some form of competition, and that's a good thing because it tells you that there is a need for a service there. Yeah, you should always pick a hard which you enjoy.
You recently went through the Y Combinator application grinder. We have to ask about the infamous Garry email, getting that nudge in your inbox to finish your application. Automated or not, what goes through your head when you see that, and how do you separate the startup hype from reality?
All right, to give the audience a little bit of a context, for my current app, Paloma, we applied to Y Combinator. We didn't apply, we started the application and we were working on it. I think we were very close to the deadline, but we hadn't finished our product demo or the founders or the founder video. And that's when that email dropped in my inbox, and it surprised me a lot because I thought it's an automated email which everyone must have gotten, but it turned out not to be the case, and it was an email from Garry Tan telling me to apply because my background aligns well with what YC is looking for, and that definitely took me by surprise. Like it took me like a good 10, 20 seconds just to process what happened there, and I called my co-founders in excitement to tell them about it. I screenshotted it and I still have it. I think I showed you the screenshot, and that's why the question made it up to the podcast. We were going to apply anyways, but I think that provided like an extra nudge to refine our application to do things even better.
Let's settle the debate. Company name prestige versus high pay. Does the answer change depending on whether you're looking for a mid-degree co-op versus a permanent full-time return offer?
I would say, Prabh, that different people for their full time have a different preference for like prestige versus pay. And ideally, you want to be in a spot where you have like a high pay and high prestige, while that might not always be possible. Like, but for a mid co op, I would always suggest people to go for something which has high prestige and somewhere where you learn more skills. I think I would rate prestige, skills, and pay in that order. People should be prioritizing when
For
they're
co-op.
looking for a co-op. Full time, again, people can have different preferences. I have my own preferences, but ideally, you want to be in a good spot where you have like a combination of both
Prestige and pay.
prestige and pay.
So which one would you like put higher, pay or prestige?
I think I would personally pick prestige higher at this point in my career because it gets easier to transition into other roles if you have a company that more people recognize.
At Amazon, you built a GenAI Slackbot using AWS Bedrock and Claude 3.5 that cut data access time from a month down to 2 minutes. In an era where everyone is slapping AI on their resumes, how do you build GenAI project that actually drives massive infrastructure value instead of just being a wrapper?
Um, I think it's a very hard question, Prabh. Um, if if you like, it's first of all very hard to define, what is uh, driving massive infrastructure value, right? And if you're starting out on your own, I don't think it's always possible to do that because most people don't have infrastructure set up uh, that they can optimize using AI in the first place. Uh, so I would suggest if you want to do anything related to AI infrastructure, just join a company that does it. Like, look for co-ops where you work on like infra roles and then slowly take on projects that help you drive the scale.
If you had to do this entire 5-year degree all over again from day one, what are the things you would pay significantly more attention to, and what would you do completely
I
different?
think I paid a lot more attention to getting good grades back in I think basically all of my undergrad. And I didn't build enough. I got into building my own projects and building in public a lot later, and I didn't know about things like Socratica or hacker houses when I was starting out. So I would definitely uh, place a lot less emphasis on school and grades, and even lead code for that matter. I feel I wasted a lot of time uh, doing lead code where the time could have been better spent on building projects, making connections. If I could do it all over again, I would definitely start out by exploring hacker houses around Waterloo, joining clubs like Socratica, making connections with people who like building, going to more hackathons to meet like-minded people, um, and putting myself out there in public. Posting more on X or opening like a YouTube channel to tell world of my ideas and my projects.
What is the absolute most critical advice you would hand to your first year self? What is one thing a freshman must do, and what should they absolutely avoid?
I think when you're a freshman, it's the best time to meet people and make friends. I would advise you to keep, like, if you're keeping yourself isolated, you're playing like video games all day, you're not going outside, because I've seen cases of that. Like, um, you should absolutely avoid doing that. I think the number one advice that I can give you is just go out there and meet more people.
Put yourself out
Yes,
there.
because I feel the more people you meet, the more perspective that you'll get, and you have to surround yourself with ambitious people. You might have heard this before, but you're an average of like five people around you. So start questioning that who are the five people most around you. You pick your circle selectively when you're first year, and it's like easy to change things, easy to move between friend groups.
You've been heavily involved with the UW Computer Science Club, as you said. We always hear your network is your net worth, as you mentioned. But how do you actually network effectively?
Prab, I always struggle when people talk about networking at events. Uh, and I'm not very good at, making small talks or making connections just for the sake of it. I personally feel I don't even have any like professional connections like most people do. I only have friends, and those friendships they evolve over time. They take a lot of patience, trust, and right conditions to form. And I don't myself know how to form good friendships. I feel it's something that happens over time once you put yourself in the right conditions. Most of my friends come from back in first year when we didn't have like any co-ops or full-time offers or like anything fancy on our resumes. I think all of that happened over time, and we helped each other out.
All right, Priyanshu, thank you for being so incredibly transparent. For anyone watching or listening to this, the biggest takeaway here is that even the people pulling off what looks like flawless victory are fighting the exact same mental battles, administrative hurdles, and high pressure anxieties as everyone else. It's about building resilience, finding your people, and keeping the blinders on when the noise gets loud. If you guys found this valuable, do me a massive favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, let us know what part of Priyanshu's journey resonated with you the most, and I'll add Priyanshu's LinkedIn in the description. So feel free to reach out to him, connect with him, and have a good day. I think just one last thing. You mentioned another quote. What was the quote? I really want to share that one as well.
I think it was called Per Adura ad Astra.
And what does it mean?
The context was Jeff Bezos was
Testing how.
yeah. So the Blue Origin was like testing a rocket launch, and the rocket exploded, and this is what Elon Musk commented, and it's something that like even resonated with me. It means through adversity to the stars. I think any path you take is full of adversities and hardships, but you continue nonetheless. That's how humanity got that far. We came from the jungles of Africa, and now we've conquered. Think about it. We've conquered the skies. We're launching satellites, spaceships.
We're doing
Anything is possible.
Looksmaxxing, bunch of other stuff. But yeah,
I was hoping that we didn't do that.
But yeah, that's the
byproducts.
thing. We have like got into the moons, we're building AI robots and stuff like that.
And it's all like a testament of human ambition, right? Like just continuing despite all the failures
Adversity.
and adversities. And you can go like a lot further than you think if you just keep trying and putting in the hard work.
All right, that's it for today, folks. See you guys on the next episode.
Thank you.